In Kingdom 2, we just registered for the March of the Ages, and there's a lot of information shown in the rules, so let's break down everything there is to know about the new version of KvK. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today we're going to talk about everything we can find about the March of the Ages in-game, which is now available in Kingdom 2. Immediately there's one thing we can see, which is that the rewards are basically the same from the standpoint of the shop in this version of KvK, and yes, there are crystals. There are definitely crystals and crystal technology in this version. Also, bastions. There are 13 commanders waiting to be discovered. You get favor by completing Bastion quests, which is going to improve your crystal mine speed, but I don't see anything about support skills here like you have in Heroic Anthem. There are teleportation limits. Governors will need to be able to consume foundation stones to teleport rather than through teleportation items on the March of the Ages map. So good news if you were low on teleports. However, we do need to talk about how these foundation stones work. Governors can build a foundation stone near an ancient pagoda under coalition control, allowing city teleportation under its location once completed. In other words, your coalition must build territory. For those of you not familiar, a coalition is a collection of alliances chosen by one alliance that is the coalition leader. They manage this group of alliances. So as long as one of the alliances in your coalition has touched a pagoda, you can then send a foundation stone over there to go and build. Speaking of which, ancient pagodas. Governors can attack these adjacent to coalition territory, and they grant a boost to cities near enough within a certain radius. There also are forward camps. Governors can build forward camps in a coalition territory and garrison a certain number of troops there to help out in times of battle. The forward camps play a large strategic role in the March of the Ages map, so this is going to be very, very important. Marching orders can dispatch troops to a forward camp. Okay, so you have to have marching orders to send troops to a forward camp. So there is possibly a limitation to the amount that you can reinforce these forward camps, and marching orders accumulate over time and cannot be sped up. So whale or not, everybody's on the same playing field with that. The supply radius is an area centered around the governor's city. The forward camps for garrisoned troops. Governors should try to limit their engagement to within the supply radius as much as possible to ensure their troops can continue to deal full damage. From what I saw, the main area that you're in and need to be like super close to is 100% damage. And then if I remember correctly, it was like 75% damage in the next ring and then like 10% damage outside of it. So you definitely want to fight within that supply radius. And the derelict passes, I still find myself confused because it says they cannot be attacked or traversed and are scattered throughout the Lost Kingdom. Governors will need to find creative and strategic ways whenever they appear. I guess there are certain areas you're not going to be able to go through. I don't know if these are random or not, but the idea that they might be is honestly a little concerning to me. In the special content, we see that there are crystal mines again. You work the mines by paying wood, food, stone, and gold. You can upgrade the crystal mine by completing quests. Increases the speed as well. And the crystals that are mined here are a precious resource. Okay, you can get crystals from War of Conquest event, level 41 or higher barbarians, Kahar the Hidden, level 11 or higher barbarian forts, the premium season crystal supply, and certain bundles. So it tells you everywhere you can get these. In addition, during the story, crystals cannot be plundered and cannot be sent as aid. And at the end of the KvK, you lose any crystals that you've got, and they become, I think, gold. I mean, it's not, you don't want to have extra crystals at the end of KvK. You want to spend them all. Now, the coalition system is basically the same. Governors can join a coalition with other alliances. They can join each other's rallies, garrison each other's buildings, repair each other's buildings too. Grand Alliance help. You share rewards with the folks in your coalition. There are boosts for holy sites, passes, and so on that are shared. And building occupation, all coalition members share the occupation bonuses for the altars of darkness and ancient ruins. What I'll say about that is that it's pretty easy to have so many marches in those altars that you can't actually see all of the marches that are even there. So enemies can just hide underneath all your marches, and they are literally impossible to find. Like, it's as if they're not there, which, I don't know. I don't think that should work that way. But anyways, reward systems. There are still season coins, conquest coins, and your unused coins are saved. So your crystals reset, your coins do not. The camp system. This is what the map looks like. And this might actually be one of the most important things we talk about that is shown in great detail here. There are 8 camps in this version of KvK and a ton of zones. So which zones will you start in and which zones will you go to next? So if you're in the bottom right, Camp Greenwood, I wonder if you start by going to the sides, perhaps, and then you can connect to this zone over here. But what's so weird about this is that when you look at the number of zones that are connected here, we see that there are 3 zones connected to the corner kingdoms, and there are way more zones connected to the middle kingdoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I guess the question is, are these middle zones actually going to be connected to the starting zone directly or not? I'm going to assume that they are not, which means that there are potentially 3 zones you can get to at the start, but then that'd be weird for the middle camps. They've got like 4 extra zones here. So I think just by looking at this map, we see that probably the bottom zones connected to neighboring camps will be open at the start. I think this is the first set of passes that will open. The next set of passes that will probably be open, it will take you into this area over here. That's probably the next set of battles. So you go to the area right next to your camps, and then potentially you can get into this zone. Maybe you can get there from your starting zone, maybe not, hard to say. If it's like Heroic Anthem, you probably can get to this from your starting zone. If it's like Strife, then you can't. And I'll call attention to these little squares right over here, which to me look like that's going to be the Altars of Darkness right over there. So potentially you're making your way into this bottom zone, the connected zones, then you go into this next zone where you could battle at the Altar of Darkness. But to do that, I mean, somehow you've got to get into these zones over here. And let's not even touch on this middle area, which is a huge circle and then another ring inside of it. I just wonder what sort of maze of passes this is going to be. I mean, even just looking at this, I'm like trying to figure out how all these zones are ordered, and I'm honestly not sure. You know, the more I look at the map, I realize only now that there's some weirdness here. Like 1, 2, 3, there's only 4 connection points for this middle kingdom and 4 connection points for this middle kingdom. It's the top and bottom middle kingdoms that have insane connection points. Maybe they've got the 6 connection points, not the side middle kingdoms. Dude, I genuinely do not know how the heck this ordering is gonna go. Looking at this is definitely, I have no clue how this is gonna work. Overall, I'm really hyped for the March of the Ages, and because our Kingdom 2 account has access, we're gonna show this to you as soon as it hits as one of the first groups to run through this version of KvK. And on the one hand, I sort of wish I was able to do this on my main. On the other hand, I mean, you can already see there's kind of a visual glitch with the menu for the March of the Ages on the top of the screen. I'm certain I'd be shocked if there aren't a few other hiccups along the way. So I'm kind of glad to experiment with this on my Kingdom 2 account rather than my main. In other news, we can see on screen now that the new commanders are in-game, but I'm a little bit confused as to what their skills are actually going to do. If we look at Pakal, there is one thing we need to talk about with the expertise skill. This was displayed a little bit differently in a couple places, so I don't know that I would trust that this wording is final yet. I think this is going to change, hopefully before the Mightiest Governor lands, so that we know exactly how they're going to work. I was actually going to make a tier list video today, but then I decided not to because I was like, well, if I make a tier list video, but the skills are different, that could be really awkward. The skill that I think is almost certainly going to be different is this one over here. It says that it's a damage factor of 50 on the expertise, which is super low and doesn't make a ton of sense. I think maybe they're missing a 0 there. Maybe it's like 500 damage factor. But it certainly will make a big difference into how good this commander is or isn't if there's literally 10x as much skill damage on the expertise skill. So I'm in a holding pattern on what I think of this commander, Chok Jun-ung, or maybe it's just easier to go with CJ because I'm probably butchering his pronunciation. Also on CJ, we don't know how Stalwart triggers. While on the map, troops led by this commander have a 40% chance to take 20% less skill damage. I think that the way this is working is, unlike other effects where you get a buff that lasts for some number of seconds, I think this is countering specific instances of skill damage you take. So like when you take skill damage, it's got a chance to reduce the amount of skill damage that you take from that instance of the skill damage. I'm honestly not entirely sure, and I think we'll probably get some clarifications over the next couple days. But offhand, you know, if you want to see my videos about these commanders, I've got a video about CJ where we review these skills in depth. I'll have a card up in the top. We've also got a very in-depth video about Pakal, and I don't know why I didn't realize there's all this stuff in front of his name. Maybe we'll just go with KJ and CJ, or do we just stick with Pakal? I don't know. Pakal for now. This commander, I mean, I think he could be really good with Herald because of this skill right over here, but I talked about it in the other video I already referenced. Let me know what you think of the new version of KvK and these commanders. Leave a comment down below. They're in the Mightiest Governor commander cycle, and I plan to max one or both of them on either my main or my restart account as soon as they land, and possibly in both places. So subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and as soon as we know what these skills are in their sort of final form, we'll have a tier list coming your way. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.